this computer. All right, so we're going to go over the study guide for today. Taylor's joined me. Which more of you have? Oh, well, what can you do? The test is tomorrow. We're going to go right to the study guide. Coming up here quick. All right. There we go. So number one, list government's four main purposes. Which do you think the U.S. government does the best? Why? Which do you think is U.S. government does the worst? Why? All right, so four main purposes of government functions, whatever have you, is provide public services, right? Okay, so you could give different examples of public services like education, like roads, transportation, you name it. All right, also maintain social order. You can talk about how the police authority, right? You can talk about the court system in the United States to decide amongst different crimes, okay, making sure that laws are followed out in the communities. You can say about national defense, so the military, how we're protecting ourselves from other countries and outside forces and maybe outside invasions. The National Guard falls under that. Okay, obviously Marines, Army, Air Force, Navy, you name it. And then finally, economic decisions. So with deciding on economic decisions through this time, whether it might be through welfare, it might be through obviously trading with other countries abroad. Okay, you can talk about how maybe stimulus, right? In these unparalleled times, I guess you could say, through the coronavirus pandemic, the government stepping up a little bit more to be an influence in people's lives with economic stimulus. Okay, so those are some examples. Those are the four main purposes, functions of government. Okay. All right, number two, social contract. And then obviously for number one, it's your opinion, whatever you think the United States does the best and maybe does the worst. Two, the social contract theory developed by Thomas Hobbes stated that people gave up some rights in return for protection. What right or rights might you be willing to give up in return for more protection? Why? So again, opinionated. Make sure you guys explain the social contract. So the social contract theory is that idea where we give up certain rights for protection from the government and for the government to really follow suit with those four main purposes and functions of government. And you can mention any different function or purpose that falls suit, which you think the government maybe can, or what you would want to give up in order for more protection. All right, three, determine the difference between a nation and a state. What are examples of each? So we all know a nation is just really a group of people that share the same culture, customs, language, okay, for the most part, religion. And they don't really have a distinctive territory, so to speak. Many people give an example of the Kurds, right? Where how they are that they're a nation without a state. Okay, so it technically doesn't have to be in a distinctive area, territory, okay, that we can look at the map and pick out where this country is. All right, so a state is an area that have a very similar culture. Okay, for the most part, a nation resides in a state, not all the time, but a state is a territory, what we know as a country. Okay, so when you look at the map, you can pick out the United States of America and know the boundaries where that's located, where that government body, different systems are established in that said state. And we already talked about multinational states. Okay, some examples of multinational states like Canada, especially, where there's a part in Canada that speaks French, part that speaks English. For the most part, it's English, but part that speaks French. Okay, there's many different examples that you can talk about. All right, determine the difference between absolute monarchy and a constitutional monarchy. So absolute monarchy, that means the monarch, king or queen, has all power. They're like a dictator in a way, right? They control every aspect of life. And for the most part, they have a feudal pyramid. I'm sure you guys know that already. We talked about it briefly. The monarch's at the top, then you have the noble class, right? Then you have the knights and then the peasants. And that's kind of how the monarch controls that said country, that area, that state, right? Constitutional monarchy is that there's a written set of rights laws that are established that the absolute monarch can't overstep and that they can't infringe on the people. So this is a written law, written constitution, obviously document that presides over the monarch. And with a constitutional monarchy, we know Great Britain being that, for the most part, constitutional monarchies, really, they don't have too much power. Or sorry, the monarch doesn't have too much power. If anything, they're just a figurehead. And Parliament makes the rules and kind of elected by the people to make the decisions in that said country. All right, so give 3 reasons why many people conclude that a democratic republic is the best form of government rather than an autocracy, pure democracy, or an oligarchy. So democratic republic is what the United States has, and with a democratic republic, we are voting in representatives, public officials that we obviously align with. That's why we're voting for them, okay? And for the most part, it might be a bicameral legislature like we have in the United States with Congress, Senate, and you vote on those elected officials to make decisions for you. Okay, obviously they have a platform that resembles something that you would want, that you would choose to have. And it's way better than an autocracy because people don't have a say in autocracy. Okay, they don't have any type of decision making. Same with an oligarchy. For the most part, an oligarchy, it's a fine line of group of people that make the decisions for that said country. So there's really no say for the people, okay, the majority in that said country. A pure democracy, they don't elect representative officials. It's just the people kind of dictate what goes on. Everybody votes and decides on something for a certain matter. There's no representatives. There's no politicians, right? There's no public officials that kind of guide the country in the direction that it's suited what they think is right. So pure democracy, everybody votes, okay, and that kind of votes for whatever law might be said. There's no really representatives. There's no elected officials. Okay, there's no Congress, what we know of in a pure democracy. And it takes a long time, right? All right, determine all of the theories of origins of government. Describe each theory for full credit. Okay, so some of the theories of government we talk about, we know the social contract, we talked about that already. So where we give up certain rights in order for protection and for the government to make those decisions for us. Okay, and Thomas Hobbes especially believed that people were unmoral, okay, immoral. They can't make the decisions for themselves, so they needed, and Thomas Hobbes' belief, an absolute monarchy to guide them in the right direction. You can talk about force theory, right? How government came about because we had stronger groups, let's say a military, that kind of took control, took power in that country, in that state, and they kind of dictate and run things, right? So for the most part, force theory, military, kind of seizing power. You have divine right, okay? Divine right theory, where people, these government officials, let's say these leaders, are chosen by God, okay? Chosen by the religion. And obviously in these forms of government, religion takes a huge role in that said society. And there are some examples of theocracies around still to this day, especially in the Middle East. Okay, Afghanistan is really unfolding before our eyes, and how this theocracy is being developed, and how this idea of religion dictating and running the course in these different portions of the world. So religion definitely taking a huge role. And finally, the evolutionary theory. So the evolutionary theory is that, well, we have almost like monarchs, right? It's a chosen family, and it kind of runs in the family, that heir, that monarchy, that leadership. Okay, and it just continues on the bloodline, right? All right, so those are the theories of government, and I'd like you to describe each theory, give examples of some of those theories on the test. You might see it. All right, so let's describe all the types of government that we discussed in class. Okay, so I went over 3 main types of government, and the other types just kind of fall under those 3 main types. I mentioned an autocracy, okay, so with an absolute monarchy, a dictatorship falls underneath that, and they have full power, obviously. And then I talked about a democracy, right? So a democracy is when people have a say in government, they vote. Okay, and their vote counts, and the people kind of run that said country on votes. And finally, the last one I have is an oligarchy. So an oligarchy, a group of people come together, usually the wisest of the people that have the most experience, and they make the decisions for that country. All right, and the last one here. Let's describe different types of economic systems and influencers for each economic system. All right, so capitalism mentioned in that worksheet that I provided to you. Okay, this is a little bit more independent work that you had to do on your own. As I assigned that, you had to read through the book a little bit to complete that activity. So capitalism, we know, is a free market. Okay, for the most part, the United States utilizes a capitalist economy, and this is great, right? Government has almost a hands-off approach, laissez-faire economics, and the market kind of runs its course, does its own thing. And with that being said, in the early stages of capitalism, yeah, it was brutal. These business owners kind of controlled and dictate what goes on in society. And that created a lot of hardships for the working class individuals. And this is where these ideas of communism comes about, socialism, right? Where there needs to be equality amongst the masses. So with capitalism, this really guides new ways and innovations, as many companies are competitive with one another to seek an advancement, to seek an upper level. That's why in the United States, it really works well. Okay, that's why in the US, especially, you see the most advancements occurring compared to anywhere around the world. And right now, Japan, especially, they're a strong partner with the United States ever since the end of World War II. And these new innovations, especially in software technology, really emerging out of Japan and the United States. Okay, so for seeking advancement, there you have it. Okay, socialism. Okay, communism obviously kind of goes hand in hand in a way, but with socialism, these are social programs for the most part that are run and controlled by the government, and the government really establishes them for the whole society. And within a socialist government, it's provided by the government solely, so you don't see that entrepreneurship, you don't see private business taking toll, and they don't see the economic growth and the new advancements emerging too much from socialism, because the government just supplies that for the people. All right, it's not like a capitalist economy where there's constant competition and where these businesses are trying to one up each other with the next newest innovative idea. Right, for the most part, the country just controls it all, and it is what it is. Communism. Okay, Karl Marx, huge player into the communist form of government. Okay, or sorry, yes, form of government. And communism technically isn't an economic system. Socialism falls under that economic system of communism, and communism is more a political ideal where government has full control of everything. Okay, full control of the market, decisions making, you name it. All right, and then finally, last one I wanted to mention, which I know it was on the assignment, but I wanted to talk about a little bit, a mixed market economy. So a mixed market economy is utilizing both systems. So socialist programs along with a majority of a capitalist program. And the United States is a great example of a mixed market economy, where the US is focused primarily on capitalism, but at the same time, we still have social programs that are established in the US to help benefit people as a whole. Okay, with education especially, right? That's a huge program service that's supplied by the government. Okay, other programs are stay with healthcare especially. Okay, so there's government agencies in healthcare, research, okay, for the environment, providing for the environment. Okay, food, right? Restaurants, different types of grocery stores controlled. For the most part, there's regulations, there's different types of ideas and principles that these restaurants that are controlled in the private sector, for the most part, they have to follow the guidelines that are established and set out by the government to protect these people that are consuming these type of items and resources. So mixed market economy, United States is a great answer for that, and how the U.S. combines both social programs along with a primarily focused capitalist system. All right, is there any questions at all? Taylor, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, I know I kind of ran through it pretty quick, but I just want to get through the recording. I'm going to end the recording now.